Today, MSMEs are being focused towards innovation, automation, and the right financing partners to be competitive. However, it can be challenging for MSMEs to manage increasingly complex operations, and a shift to digitization is needed to optimize operations and make the best use of the limited resources. Manufacturing MSMEs have to resolve the structural issues in scaling up, one of the biggest hurdles in the life cycle of an MSME. It is closely followed by the challenges of a skilled workforce and finally a support system, including finance and technology, that can be created by partnerships and collaborations with a long-term view. Today, we have with us an illustrious list of speakers who have not only scaled up their operations, but also turned around enterprises empathetically. We would like to set the ball rolling with our keynote speaker, Mr. Ramashankar Pandey, the MD of Hella Lighting and Chairman of Connected Vehicles CFT, ACMA. His contribution towards Skill India initiative as a co-founder of Prayas since his Bosch days in 1998 has benefited hundreds of underprivileged youth to get skills, jobs, and livelihood they deserve. He is known as a champion of road safety awareness and is the president of CWC of Drive Smart, Drive Safe organization. I would request Mr. Ramashankar Pandey to please deliver his keynote address.
First of all, thanks, because taking Pro FMG towards MSME, I think a very dear to my heart as well. And I go back to my days in college when late Dr. Kalam, when he was in our institute, and he was talking to us, and something which inspired us a lot. As you see the Indian society culture in terms of our obsession with degree designation and large companies, hype. And then he was talking to people at college at NIT Calicut, and he was telling about how going forward in next 10 years, and he wrote many books on Vision 2020 and Ignited Minds, and he was always speaking about how India will be flooded with lot of engineers, lot of supervisors and managers, but we'll have the scarcity of the skilled people and the SME ecosystem, which is necessity for our growth. So what I will do today, first of all, it's an interesting topic today we are taking, and I think the whole panel and the speaker, the distinguished list on the speaker, what I see is, I think it's going to make a big, thought-provoking discussion today. What I will do is, since I will just take another 10-15 minutes from my side to put my thought, I'll use a small presentation which talks more about how do we get from the survival mode to the excellence mode. Because as you just heard Amita talking about limited resource, I think limited resource is not only for MSMEs, I think for any business for that matter. The resources are limited, and we have to find out how as an ecosystem we can develop. So taking this forward at this point of time when we are really into a testing time, I think crisis like COVID, and that too even now, which is the second wave, which is much higher, also the triple of the peak what we saw in past, with roughly around below 100,000, and now we are peaking to 270 to 80,000 cases per day. I think crisis like this, which is I always call fear of unknown, it's still difficult to understand with new symptoms, with new issues, whatever it is, SMEs or large sector. I think all of us are facing a crisis. And it is at this time we see the impact of this fear of unknown on the smaller sector, medium sector, micro sector is even higher. Coupled with all the lockdown, and if you look at, for example, if you see Delhi now, and one ironical thing is when we talk about small, generally we get with the size small, but we have to see looking forward how it is an integral part of the eco chain. So let's say now Delhi is locked down, and some of our suppliers are in Delhi and Faridabad region, and we are heavily impacted. Immediately we are heavily impacted. So what does it mean? It means that we are, I always call you are, therefore I am. So we all depend on each other. And that's why the first thing I would like to welcome all the SME partners who are on this webinar now, that the word small or micro should not make us in real terms small or micro. We are all into this integrated supply chain, and even one of you has a health issue, it affects all of us. But at the same time, because of the size, the most vulnerability comes to the SME sector, MSME sector. I think many of us will not forget the migrant crisis, one of the huge, I will say, demonstration of loss of trust in the blue collar, especially in the migrant blue collars, that how even when everybody was telling they will take care of them, they were walking thousands of kilometers. And we see second time also when Maharashtra, the lockdown, threat came in, and we see suddenly a lot of people, going to the railway station to move on. So I think this vulnerability, both in the migrant or blue collar as well as in the small sector, we see that the panic, it does come. Now, when we see this at this time of corona or any other crisis, it only goes more for the small sectors. Of course, large sector will have a little bit more to withstand, coupled with the day-to-day challenge which is coming up now. And I think you heard from Amita that the way digitization is now disrupting. We heard earlier software is eating the world. We also heard now that the artificial intelligence will eat the software. So if overall, Bill Gates talking about, taxing the robots, these are realities of our time now. And if we consider these realities, where does the MSME sector look at now this change, which is a general change? COVID is a special topic, we just saw that. But in general, COVID is accelerating this change. This will take us whether into an unknown area, and I call it fear of unknown, or this will strengthen ourselves. It all depends on, and I'll take it later, about the mindset topic, right? So in this era, when the rise of machine is more and more, rise of machine learning, artificial intelligence is more and more, how does MSME has to see this? Of course, most of the large sector, we are all adopting, embracing these technologies. On top of it, there's something very specific to India, and I hinted you on that generally the skilled sector is not looked up to, or the way the society looks at skilling and the hand job is not very respectable. And that is where you see the root cause of our productivity, I will say robbery of this skilling or robbery of productivity happens here, where you see these economies, large economies like Germany, United States, 10 to 12 times more productive than the productivity index what we see in India. Now, what it does, it basically takes a huge value creation out of the similar number or hours of activity we do. So if at, let's say, $7-8 per hour compared to a $60 per hour, of course, this is a very, very tough situation, not only for MSME, also for an organized sector, also for a large sector. Now, what is the answer here? And now you put everything together. Specific to India, you clearly see that we have a skilling ecosystem is a very painful system. We don't have, our education system is completely different, and we are obsessed with degree and designation rather than giving due respect to skilling. No one would like to marry his daughter with a master technician, or let's take a master plumber, because that is how our society is. Now, when you don't do that, most of the MSMEs, when they have to hire this skill, and the society only aims for a different kind of jobs, like you get your engineering or medical, or go to a IS or CA or CS, those kind of structured, highly aspiring jobs, the skill job, which is basically creating the value in our MSMEs, and when they don't have respect, you don't get fresh supply of this skill. So, and this, even if the government is trying a lot, even industry is trying a lot, we might fix the supply side of it, but not the demand side of it. This aspiration for skilling is not there. And that's why we are robbed of our productivity. And when you have such a difficult situation, we have to compete globally. So when all of us discuss about China plus one strategy, when the COVID came in and the whole world want to diversify its risk and come to India for manufacturing, I think what we could not manage the way maybe Vietnam or some other country could manage, we were not prepared for it. We are even not prepared today, because if we have to become that cost competitive, we need to tackle this skilling or productivity issue. Now, having said that, if I summarize in this context, whatever I just told, the MSME sector matching the global level of customer expectation? Because this is what every in automotive, or every OEMs or the tier one will expect from the SMEs. At the same time, we also expect that it should be a highly cost competitive offering from MSMEs. Now, this is a very deadly trap, that you need to reach the world class in terms of the cost competitiveness, and you also need to reach the world class in terms of deliverable. It is actually a great ecosystem if it is there without those aspects which I just told you before. So some of the topics which I told you before is giving that context which is not allowing MSME actually to come out of this difficulty. The second topic is, of course, the cost of capital and overall liquidity. And this three put together is putting MSME sector into a highly challenging situation. Added to the fact that the talents, attracting the talent in a small sector is extremely difficult. Of course, there are some inherent issues with this sector, but at the same time, this is in general, people would aspire to have it is not a cool thing. First of all, it is not cool to join manufacturing, and it is not further cool to join a small manufacturing setup. Now, as I told you that we depend a lot on the MSME sector, any organization for that matter, large sector, cannot exist without this MSME. The Indian the job sector depends on MSME. These jobs are the biggest jobs. So we owe to the MSME sector, and with huge respect, it is our responsibility to nurture them and to take them out of this trap. So I think I just prepared few discussion points rather than a recommendation, because this is not something which I'd like to recommend. I just would like to coin it, that can we think in that direction, that how can we reach from this survival instinct of the difficulty to global excellence. The first topic I would like here is the mindset. So are we starting, or are we living these small and medium enterprises with a cost arbitrage mindset, where we are basically taking that part of the value chain which is most, I will say, most on a lower value chain activity just for the cost arbitrage for the large sector? I think this is where we should be careful. Rather, we should look into that value creating, proposition to the large sector. When that happens, the interdependence is very, very strong. Because when we are an integral and unique part of the value chain, this uniqueness will take away the small tag, small or micro or medium tag. It is basically as good as any. It's not economy of scale, but it's economy of scope. That together with our value creation portfolio, the overall ecosystem works. I think qualitatively we all understand that, but we have to make it on individual level. Every SME need to aspire on this value creation partner designation, rather than just being a cost arbitrage. And this can happen when you move yourself from a small mindset to a unique value proposition mindset. From the dependence to one large sector to interdependence, which means it is both way. And then if you look at that, integrating that uniqueness to the interdependent value chain. And once that happens, I'm very sure this makes that excellence reachable on the global level. So starting with, I think it's good always to start like a job work, start little small on the value creation. When I say small, I does not mean by scale now. I think I forgot that whole scale small nomenclature. I'm only talking about small value creation. So when we start with a small job work kind of value creation, and slowly we go to the partial ownership or full ownership of the whole design and development activity, technology activity, and from build to print, we basically get finally into a proprietary or IP based continuous improvement innovation process. When we do that, I think the biggest starting or door opener for any MSME will be, I always say quality is your business card. So whatever we do in past with cost, people will forget that cost. Even if you win those businesses, later the discussion will only be based on are we able to achieve that quality or not. So it's good to negotiate, it's good to be on the cost level, but I think that mindset has to go away and come on this quality, because this is really a business card for any MSME, even for the large sector. This is the starting point. So the saying goes, rather lose money than reputation. Because once you don't have that, you will not be able to open the doors, and then the interdependence and diversifying your customer base will not happen. So, and also internally, if you look at your inconsistent quality, will actually overall, when you start calculating, it start killing your overall cost. So the cost advantage, which was the starting point, and which is like your major forte, no, I am able to make something at a lesser cost than a large sector. I think this cost arbitrage will go away, because this inconsistent quality will start haunting you very, very soon. Another topic there is that, again, this inspection after inspection and somehow putting the firewall with Jugaad, can we take the mindset more on the final process and the whole FMEA mindset there? So FMEA mindset does not have to be the property of large sector. This can be any small value creation can have those, process capability study and making that stable. So rather than creating a lot of quality department people, firewall people, inspection people, I think we need to build the quality first approach, which is the quality mindset. And there we need to invest into quality system. I think there are very less SMEs in our experience who actually invest. Sometimes we really face it very difficult to get the mindset there. It's only the audit, and after the audit again, they prepare for the audit. So I think the whole concept of how do we get quality first approach with systems and investing into those stable technologies. In fact, we can just upgrade those Jugaad. Jugaad is not an issue. Jugaad is a good thing. That is the idea is coming. But can we build that on a continuous improvement process with Poka Yoga? And then it becomes a stable process. Once that is done, I think you will definitely reap the benefit of quality by further diversifying your customer base. Though it is controversial, but the third thing which I would like to have the opinion is customer first or employee first. I think what my recommendation will be that for SME sector, I think you should start with employee first, but then the precondition will be that you should have only customer-centric employees, because it's a small organization in terms of numbers. So you can have employees recruited based on the entrepreneurial value system. So if you have more entrepreneurial employees, they will take care. But to attract those entrepreneurial employees, you need to have a very professional governance. I think this is where we are missing the point, many MSMEs, that only when you go big, then you can have a HR department and you can take care of hygiene factor. No, even from 2 people team, 5 people team, 50 people team, we can start the governance on a very high level to attract professionals. And these professionals, you should give them employee first feeling. So the moment you do the employee first feeling and they are the entrepreneurial mindset, they will take care of the customer, and then somehow you will become overall a customer first approach, but through the other route, right? And most of the SMEs, you have to understand that we are not like a large ship where you have a captain and everybody, all the processes are well defined. I think there'll be a more entrepreneurial nature, and that is why, like a speedboat, that's why your team members will matter the most. And this again goes back to the governance topic, that we need to make professionals feel like this is their own company. We need to get that entrepreneurship culture into the company. And we should not depend on just one customer. We can start with that, but I think this will kill us to make the employee first approach. Because if we have some diversification, I don't tell that, okay, have many customers, but have some strategic focused customer, but not just one customer. This gives you the freedom to become employee first rather than just becoming customer first. The last major topic I would like to take up is what I started on the productivity, is investing in the skilling. This is what, I was so amazed with what Dr. Kalam said, and I can see this today also in my normal day-to-day working as a practitioner, that this skilling topic, and who will prepare people for you? We have to do it ourselves as industry. Today's education system doesn't do it. But then we need to make it very effective. And how the effectiveness of every training and every skilling will come is by productivity improvement. So we make a circle where the sustaining that skilling expense by direct productivity improvement. I think we should not underestimate what is possible by every new skilling and connecting it with direct productivity improvement on the shop floor, on our design tables. And this will happen if we start recognizing more and more and rewarding more these people, expose our talents to the global best practices. If a company says, I'll give you a price reduction, and if a company says, I'll give you a world-class training, I'll expose you to it. It's a multinational company exposing you to different part of the world, opt for the second one. Because that's your investment. That's our investment into people. Once we start doing it, I'm very sure that this cycle of productivity improvement skilling will feed to itself. There is a lot of discussion regarding Industry 4.0 and digitization, that the small and MSME cannot. I think it's a wrong notion that MSME cannot. MSME can, but I think we have to start granular. we should go for the need-based transformation from physical to cyberization, step by step. First in our day-to-day working, first in our management, and then we get on to the soft floor. And I think this investment into smart industrialization has to happen smartly. I just give you these two pictures in an example that you don't have to really change everything. But what is your core competency, your core processes? And we think about the core process to be mechanized and digitized. Once we do that, I think that becomes a very good cocktail putting all together. But I will still focus on this last, repeat topic, which I say, if we are able to take care of the skilling ecosystem and professionalizing the whole setup of MSME towards what I told you about the quality first approach, towards I told you about attracting the talent and the professionalization, I think will be done.
I would now like to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Manoj Barve, the President for India for BVMW. Mr. Manoj Barve is an SME evangelist, championing the cause of Indian SMEs in an effort to help them find their rightful place on the global platform. As the President of the BVMW Representative Office in India, he toils to elevate the standard of Indian SMEs by supporting them to augment their technical capabilities, be inspired by the latest developments, and help them connect better with the potential buyers and collaborators.
So friends, we are passing through a very difficult phase of the pandemic. However, it is human nature that we keep on fighting and searching for newer solutions, newer ways of overcoming the challenges. We don't give up. Survival of the fittest is also the rule of our industrial world. And Germany's SMEs, its manufacturing strengths, have survived and thrived during the challenges of 20th century, during the checkered history of Germany, as well as during the 21st century, the Chinese onslaught it has survived. German economy is based on the four pillars. It's famous vocational training or dual education, as Ramashankar mentioned about skills. More than half of German youth get skilled education in about 350 trades, and mostly in the SMEs. They don't go for higher education, but get skilled education. Close to 200 of world's largest trade fairs are in varied domains are happening in Germany, enabling internationalization also for the SMEs. Germany has industry associations in every domain you can think of, and they are not only lobbying but also supporting the members in skill development, R&D, collaborations, and in internationalizations. And then come the 3.4 million SMEs in Germany, popularly known as the Mittelstand. This German word is also becoming popular in English. I represent BVMW, German Federal Association of SMEs in India. The Mittelstand is considered to be the backbone of German economy, German society, and it holds the fabric of the nation together. The Mittelstand comprises companies make up about 36% of German industrial revenue, but 58% of its value addition. So you can see their manufacturing depth. 60% of industrial employees in Germany work with the Mittelstand. And most of all, 83% of its young apprentices are trained with the Mittelstand. 88% of the companies are owner managed and 95% of them are family owned. Strictly by definition, Mittelstand companies are say about employing 500 employees and about 50 million euros in sales. Friends, when we think about German industry, we often think of the large automotive OEMs or the electrical giants or the chemical companies, exceptionally one IT company of SAP and all. But the Mittelstand companies, with their flat hierarchies and highly participative management, these companies are mostly industrial companies manufacturing B2B products, capital equipment, tools, machinery, and engaged in mechanical, electrical, automation, mechatronics kind of domains. You will find them mostly in small towns or even in countryside, and they are long-term oriented. hidden champions. They are champions because they are world number 1, 2, or 3 in their highly specialized, focused niche or domain, and are hidden because they are often not known beyond their industrial domain, and also because they are publicity shy. Here are some hidden champions, and you will know them only if you are related to these domains. These companies are number 1, 2, or 3 in their domain, but you won't know them unless you are in their domains. No? We'll quickly go through some lessons for Indian SMEs which come from hidden champions. These companies are extremely ambitious targets. They are known for their focus on niche and depth. Globalization, they start pretty early. Innovation, closeness to customers is also another advantage which we'll see soon. Loyalty and highly qualified employees. Loyal and highly qualified employees is another major aspect, and we'll see how they achieve it. And of course, strong leadership. These companies set very ambitious targets for themselves, for market leadership and for growth, and they strive to achieve those. Their objective is world dominance in their small niche. They set benchmark in their industry for others to follow. Success begins with ambitious goals. Now, how can Mittelstand, medium-sized companies do that? That is because of their focus and their depth. The hidden champions define their markets very narrowly. They are highly focused. They believe that only focus can make them world class. They define their niche, and then they go deeper into it. So that becomes smaller market, but then they go global. They are able to concentrate their resources, management resources, funds, IT, R&D, innovation on this niche. And this is something which also Ramashankar mentioned about uniqueness. They are focused on uniqueness rather than offering everything for everybody. So they do not outsource their core competencies. I like to give this example of Winterhalter. This company opted out of various started focus only on dishwashers for hotel and restaurant industry. They not only produce machines but also water conditioners, detergents, provide different services, or even racks kind of equipment for hotel and restaurant industry. This company is so much focused that from Winterhalter dishwashers, it changed its name also to Winterhalter Gastronom, which is like Winterhalter Hospitality. And they hire people from the same industry, from hotel and restaurants, in order to understand exactly what are the needs of their customers. Hidden champions go global early with their own subsidiaries. They decentralize their sales and manufacturing to be close to the customer, but they retain R&D activities and control of the operations close to their headquarters. They heavily invest in the future markets. So if you see here, it's not surprising that the countries with strong manufacturing are also the countries which have excellent trade balance, positive trade. They are also having negative or low balance of trade. Germany has excellent ecosystem for innovation where the SMEs work together with the universities as well as their lot of different research institutes. Fraunhofer is one of them, which is focused on applied research. Compared with the global norm of 3%, the hidden champions invest 6% of their sales on R&D year after year. Compared to the large companies, the hidden champions develop 5 times more patents per 1,000 employees and at 1/5 of the cost compared to the large companies. Germany has excellent ecosystem which predefines the patents, collaborative efforts, intellectual property ownerships, cost sharing, profit sharing. So the research and development becomes much more smoother, and from R&D labs, the products can be brought to the markets very fast. Closeness to customer is the greatest strength of the hidden champions, even ahead of their technological advantage which they has. Germany is very much famous for incremental solutions, making machines better, safer, and more productive every day. The hidden champions are able to provide solutions to the customers want. Again, as Ramashankar said, that they have customer-centric employees. You will find their employees on the shop floor rather than sitting with the purchasing department of the customers. Hidden champions are able to provide solutions the customers want, and compared to their large counterparts, their 38% of their employees are directly in contact with the customers. Highly qualified and loyal employees is another factor, is another strength of the hidden champions. Some reasons are relating to dignity of labor and vocational education and training, which is in the ecosystem of Germany, and some are relating to the management practices which hidden champions do in the companies. Employees turnover, if you can see, it's in 19 in the USA. Even in Germany, on an average, it's 7.3. Even good companies for like Mercedes-Benz has 3.6%, and hidden champions have just 2.7%. Strong leadership, of course, that is the main driving factor. The leadership is inspirational in all this, and especially it is their long-termism. The leaders are in the business not for months, not for quarters, but for generations. They identify what they need to do, and even hidden champions have more women at the top, and the tenure of the top management is about 20 years with the same company compared to 6 years of the large companies. So to summarize, here is the wheel, three-circle wheel by Professor Simon. The core is, of course, leadership with ambitious goals, and then these are the inner strengths like depth, innovation, and high-performance employees. And then there are other focus areas in the outer circle.
MSMEs are the backbone of the industry, and ladies and gentlemen, we heard two eminent speakers, Mr. Pandey and Mr. Barve, share very interesting insights. And when we talk about MSMEs, their contribution to India's manufacturing GDP and also the share of the workforce employed is quite significant. Today, we are privileged to have our esteemed speakers to share their real-life experiences and insights on the topic of how Indian MSMEs can become competitive. It gives me a great pleasure in introducing them. We have from Grindmaster, their director, Mrs. Mohini Kelkar, all the way from Aurangabad. She has joined us. She is one of the few early lady production engineers in India. Her company, Grindmaster, is a global technology player in specialized machines, providing total solutions for surface finishing requirements. We have the next speaker, Mr. Indradev Babu, who is the managing director of UCAM and also the president of Indian Machine Tool Manufacturers Association. The IMTMA is the premium association for machine tool industry. We have from Jaipur, Ms. Babu is from Bangalore. We have from Jaipur, Mr. Kishore Ketan, who is the managing director of Basant Fibertech. He is an entrepreneur in textile engineering and smart energy metering. He has turned around 3 family businesses into successful ventures, manufacturing engineered products. He specializes in entrepreneurship, fiber-friendly spinning, manufacturing, design, and company turnaround strategic planning. We have from Bangalore again the director of CMTI, Dr. Naga Hanumayya, who CMTI is the Central Manufacturing Technology Institute in Bangalore, and he's the former chief scientist of CSIR, Central Mechanical Engineering Research Institute in Durgapur. He completed his doctorate from IIT Bombay and post-graduation in tool engineering from Indo-Danish Tool. I start with my question to Mr. Indradev Babu. Mr. Indradev Babu, could you please share your views on streamlining operations improving efficiency and productivity, which is paramount to success of all the ventures and especially MSMEs.
Talking about productivity and efficiency, I think we are talking almost the same item, which is productivity. And also the sphere that what we heard that was already set is more connected with manufacturing, while MSMEs can be in service sectors as well. So let's focus more in the areas and the sphere of manufacturing, the Indian MSME. And as already Mr. Manish, you already mentioned that I grew out of absolutely a small, tiny setup with all the challenges that we heard earlier about the problems of an MSME from Mr. Ramashankar Pandey. All of the pains and the problems that I have gone through, and it resonates to me very well on this subject. So talking about productivity for manufacturing, I can tell you this in my experience, this is the biggest bane of our industry. And also it is because of the ecosystem we have, and already as shared, it is also about the way we are educated, and more also about the way we have the culture that comes up in our activity. We are talking about German MSMEs, Mittelstand, that we just heard about, and I have the pleasure of working closely or partnering with some such companies. And I can tell you that there's a world of difference, and we are pretty much disadvantaged in that the basic cultural background as we are brought up as children, then it goes back there, and then the schooling and the college education that we have are all extremely difficult situation. On top of that, the complexities of our country, the multiple languages brought in, and the expert and the need today of English, wherein our mother tongue is not English. People who are fortunate to have educated in good English medium schools are way ahead, but that is a small percentage of the MSMEs, particularly in the working sector, whether they are senior, middle, or lower. These are some of the challenges. But we're talking about productivity. So the productivity, as it all came out in the previous presentations. It's connected with a lot with the leadership and mindset. Okay, so first of all, it's the productivity can come. I mean, I totally agree that small industries can adopt it, but the challenge for them is they're already in such a mess. Already they can't they are not able to stop and think and solve a problem. Okay, this is the typical problem. They are always behind on deliveries, they're always behind on fund requirements, they're always having employee absenteeism, they're always having power cuts in their factory. So the uncertainties has to be managed. So the way forward is, according to me, if there are any MSME leaders over here, I would ask them, do you have a mentor? It's the first important thing that I would like you to note is you need to have somebody with whom you can bounce off, and they can tell you where you are going wrong and you can think about it. So you need to find time to think, because the problem is immense for them to get out. But then as this starts to happen, there is a cultural change that is required, and this is also resonates with Mr. Pandey's talk about being able to be a problem solving person. Okay, so the leadership matters a lot, because how your employee first or customer first, it starts with the leader of the organization. The CEO is most responsible here. If he says, I need to focus on my employees or customers, whatever it is, but both these two are two stakeholders that he cannot, wish away here. I mean, first and foremost, if he's not customer focused, he cannot survive. And the one surprising thing is, I find many entrepreneurs, particularly in the MSME sector, are always blaming customer. I'll tell you, and any entrepreneur, please stop. You can't blame a customer. However, it is up to you. The ball is in your court to differentiate yourself, find your own ways. I'm sorry, I'm slightly deviating into how an MSME leader should function, but this is going to help him in productive areas. For example, if he is able to motivate his team by not doing a blame game. So
these are building blocks, as you said, to making
Exactly.
the organization accountable and productive. My next question is to two panelists. First, I will ask this question to Mrs. Mohini Kelkar, and I'll ask the same question to Mr. Kishore Khetan. As we heard from Mr. Ramashankar Pandey, quality is your business card, and as the cost of poor quality is very expensive, I mean, it's very high. Could you please highlight the roadmap to achieve world-class quality, Mrs. Kelkar?
Thanks, Manish, for that remembering our quality policy, which is quite unique. So to say, our quality policy, as you mentioned, is 100 minus 1 is equal to not 99, but equal to 0. And it has indeed multiple meanings in terms of achieving the quality and to be the world class. So somebody will ask, why should we be the world class? My answer to that will be, if you want to survive in today's world, you have to be world class. You have to think of exporting, because it is a global village, all said and done. Pandemic is pushing the countries. Every country wants to be Atmanirbhar, but all said and done, the global players are pouring in India. You see MG Motors, you see SAIC, you see every Chinese company is getting into India, and there is nobody can block them. So the only way is to become a world-class quality player for survival. I'm not saying it is required just to fulfill your export ambitions. It is required for survival. And from that perspective, this 100 minus 1 is equal to 0 was phrased. It has multiple meanings. Let me start from 100. When you talk about achieving world-class quality, I feel that most of the gaps, even within my company, occur in understanding that 100, understanding what is that 100. So, the quality is interlinked. Quality perception is interlinked with the customer expectation. You cannot make it separate. And when it comes to customer expectation, linked with the quality, you have to understand it 100%. What exactly is customer wanting? So if you are wanting to be a global player like my company did, it was a really uphill task to understand the customer expectations on quality. It was indeed quite tough, and we had to go through rigorous processes when we exported our first machines way back in 2003-04. This UK company, they sent us back the photos. Let me cite a common man example. And they said, okay, you have done not a bad job, but the parts that you have sent, we did not order the scratches on the parts. It's very simple. Now, how the parts are produced by our companies. If there are scratches on the parts when you send it out, people don't like it. I mean, it's a small thing for MSME or for the companies that are involved. They feel, what is there? Functionally, it is all right. It is small for us. But the perception of customer is important. They say, we have not given the scratches on the drawing. How did you make them? So the thing is, understanding that really quality expectation is very, very important. and then ensuring, so lot of detailing is involved, a lot of checklist. If you come to my company, we have n number of checklists, and only checklist doesn't help. From the senior level, we have the bird's eye view on every checklist and what is happening, whether they are just filled as a procedure, or the intent is properly captured. It is necessary to capture the intent, and one of the speakers spoke earlier that connect with the customer is something which is missing. I think Manoj said that 30% of German Mittelstand, 30% of people working in a company are well connected with the customer. It's again a gap which I can very clearly see, which is really required for achieving the world-class quality. I would quickly mention here, because this is also digitalization and smart kind of angle is there for this event. I wish to say here that what digital can bring to the table. Will it improve the quality of the parts being produced, or the machines, or the products being sold? No. It will be a kind of a watchman, It will, the thing is, it will quickly catch the wrong things happening in your system, something produced in the wrong way or something going wrong. But to basically get that right quality, you really need the right processes. And I feel that many times this is missed out by MSMEs. By this, what I mean is you really need robust processes. We are working with global players and even MSMEs in China or other countries. The biggest difference we find is they invest in the right technology and the machines that are forward looking. The scale comes later, or the orders come later. In our case, we first see, is BMW going to order a part on me or not? If they are, then okay, I need a level 2 finishing process, and then I'll think of a grindmaster machine. But in China, the similar company in a similar position, they go ahead with the level 3 finish when level 2 is required.
Very well said.
You see, as Mrs. Kelkar rightly pointed out, you have to first define what is quality for you, or rather for your customer. World-class quality can be a very esoteric term. If we do not know exactly what is world class, and the bigger question is, do our customers need world class? Like, just to give you a context, suppose you go to a roadside dhaba to have a meal. For you, world class means that you get hot, healthy and hygienic food delivered to you at a reasonable price within the shortest possible time. You are not looking for an air-conditioned environment or a great ambience or music on the side. You just, for you, world class means the quality of the food and the service. So actually, you have to see what is your target market and what the target market needs. In our case, I'll tell you a very pertinent story on this. Like, as Mrs. Kelkar said, 100 minus 1 is 0. For us, it was actually 100 minus 2 is 0. And I'll tell you how. We had some kind of a defect rate of less than 2% in our product. And we had this big customer in one of the Southeast Asian countries where we, sold our product. And, during the assembly, one small mistake the fitter did, he just put the shaft in the reverse order and bolted it. A very small mistake. Now, when that product went to the customer, he couldn't fit it into the machine, and that created a big problem. We had to send an engineer twice over to that country to get it rectified, the problem. And that was a huge costly affair, and we not only lost the customer, we also lost our agent, who kind of got a loss of confidence on us. And as a result, we must have, I do not know. I cannot even estimate how much in terms of business we lost. So, one can say I have just a 2% defect rate, but when you are world class, that's not good enough. And we learnt a lesson from that, and today I can proudly say that we hardly have a 0.2% reject rate within our factory, and maybe we are almost at a Six Sigma level when we go out and ship the products to our customers, because especially in an export market, going wrong once is a huge cost. So I would strongly suggest to all SMEs in India that number one, understand what your customers really need in terms of quality. What is that they need in terms of reliable performance or expected performance from you. Make sure that your systems, processes and products have zero defect up to that level. Beyond that, if somebody is doing better but he's relating to another customer segment which is not of your concern, you don't have to aspire for that world-class quality. That's the point number one I wanted to make. Point number two I would like to make is that I think Mr. Barve mentioned about the hidden champions and their mindset. You have to basically see what do you aspire for. Suppose you are a cycle repair shop in a village. You have a very local market. All you aspire for is close relationship with your customers, and you are okay. So you don't have to aspire for world-class quality. But if you are in a business like us, where you are supplying critical components of machinery worldwide, where the machines have to perform at high performance levels, and the customer's quality and performance depends on your product, then the price is not so much a factor. It's always a factor, but it's not so much of a factor to the customer as the reliability and the confidence in your product. So you have to have your systems and processes and your culture so strong that you have that nothing second best is acceptable. And for that you have to do TPM, you have to do lean management, you may use Six Sigma, you may use Pokayoke, anything, but ultimately it's the culture that yes, I should not have even one complaint from the customer, and my product should perform 100% of the time to 100% of the performance standards I've committed.
The limitation of resources is a challenge faced by MSMEs, and access to advanced technologies is also one of the challenges. Could you please throw some light on the ways of adoption of technology specifically by MSMEs, Dr. Naga?
MSME has limitations in getting access to advanced facilities. Before that, what I understood is MSME, there are few hidden problems, which of course I'm basically researcher. Last 3 years I'm managing the institute, particularly in the technology marketing. I will give you an example. What normally in the industries works. Industry, mostly MSME, whether it is hard to believe or not, but still many MSME survives because of their Jugaad innovation. And the Jugaad innovation is not wrong, as I think Ramshankar told. It's because this is the only USP for many MSMEs. Mostly it is driven by person specific and also location specific, and it is sometimes it cannot be reproduced, or sometimes yes, it could be applied to the various applications. So now, say for example, of being an MSME, what problems I have? See, one is a passion. Mostly in India, the MSME entrepreneurs are primarily started with their own passion. Otherwise, I don't have any job, but I have money. My father had money. I invested and I started entrepreneur. This is the two extremes. If I want to do innovation or any solutions we want to find, what is my options are available? Options is the institute like us. They can come to CMTI or come to CSR lab or go to IITs. Or another option what they have is their company, they can always recruit if they have cash, and they can find a solution through by hiring a consultant, experts. But what are the challenges with these two? First is when the people comes to institute like us, so in general it is not affordable in many cases because of the organizational structure setup. That is one. And second is, if you wanted to hire an expert consultant or those kind of things, again, it is not affordable. And second is retaining that expert, retaining the talent itself is difficult for them. Now, one possible solution is because India was very well on the cooperative movement. Somehow this cooperative movement is not existing. The reason is though cluster industry associations and all working, but really in the shop floor that benefits are not reaching. So naturally, though government, there are several schemes of common facility center and then cluster they call technology. I think Ministry of Small Scale Industry, they have a technology centers. But these will not solve the problem of shop floor. The reason is shop floor, irrespective of scale of operation, one has to address the challenges of all 4P. I call it as a 4P. That 4P is product, process, people, and production. Right? So product means one has to understand what my customers want. That is, he has to understand the design. So what Mr. Ketan said, yes, you cannot, not necessary also, and also you cannot reach to the world class, the so-called world class, but it's always milestone. You set the milestone, as long as you meet the customers. And second is the process. So many times the process is developed elsewhere, and we are this machine or facility process which we use, we just work like a black box. So because the source process which you are hired, it is always works like black box, and I don't know why it is. But unfortunately, manufacturing, I will give another equation. That is 100 minus 100 0, but my equation is 1 plus 1 will never be a 2. Either it is either 2 plus or 2 minus. So now understanding 2 plus and 2 minus or trying to reach to 2 is the challenge MSME face. And the third one is the people, because one is affordability and second is retaining those people is an issue. And many times we MSME also not giving the respect to the internal resource, that is HR, because skilling and upskilling is always challenge for MSME, because there is also threat. If you're skilled, maybe after 6 months you will find a job in the next shop floor who is your otherwise competitor. And the third one is the production. Production is what you question you ask, capital. The capital investment is one, and second is all the equipments, all the facility you cannot integrate or install at your factory shop. So naturally you need to work with others. If I look at the UK catapult center approach, but that approach is not there in India very much. So what they do is that I am aware of MTC, Manufacturing Technology Center to UK. One is one of the catapult. So they have a membership concept. The membership is as a technology provider and technology users. Maybe for a specific order, X or Y may be a competitor. Definitely X or Y, either of them will win the contract. So then the other guy will be providing a solution. So that means his facility is also utilized, his expertise is also utilized. Of course, some of the institute like MTC and all the work, they facilitate this. I think that is not there. So my suggestion would be to MSME is better you always work as a two-door. One door is always remains closed. Yes, you have to be unique. That is going to be USP, but you keep other door open to help and also to acquire and get the solutions or suggestions from others.
For MSMEs, we are talking about adoption of technology in our processes, not in our products. So we are aware about various there are huge options of adoption technology. Let's build it up into 3 areas. One would be more customer related, one which is more internal, connected with the manufacturing or your product producing processes, production, and also engineering areas. And then you will have needs for post dispatch service and maintenance. So there's a huge plethora. How does a small company adopt technology? Let me tell you, I have huge failure stories in my own company, my own experience about technology. And at UCAM today, we have adopted a reasonable level of technology, whether it be a CRM or a ERP system or even in a FEA, apart from engineering and monitoring customers and database analytics. But the point is that how does an SME adopt? So the mistake that happened was when we adopted ERP as the two sophisticated SAP many years ago. And I'll tell you, there was more confusion than benefit. So the question was, what are we doing? What is the amount of money we are spending? What are we getting in return? Are we just going to say, oh, we run ERP, SAP, or are we really hitting our bottom lines and top line? Okay. So the challenge for MSMEs is that typically is not well thought out. So let me warn that please do a lot of due diligence. First of all, do you have your processes already working stably? Stable process, is that happening? Now, if you think that adopting an ERP is a panacea for all your on-time delivery issues, you are huge mistaken. Okay, it will not happen. So ERP will definitely give you benefits provided your processes are well defined, and it also allows for flexibility. So we adopted ERP, and then we found that one process, in an exceptional case, a customer asked for something, there was no way that we could do it. It just then we had to go around it, causing more mess. So let's say that you want to adopt CRM. Okay. Now the question is, what are you trying to do? You need database, but finally you need to be very clear. The problem is crystal clarity about what it's expected to deliver, how it is going to help you save costs, how it's going to give you an edge over competition. Then how are you, really productive and dynamic? Strategically, are you going to be one up ahead the competition by adopting this? So, and then role clarity is another important aspect, that and accountability and a project and a review system. So if you don't have these things, then you really have a lot of problem. In fact, the topic that we talked about, productivity, comes first. In fact, I wanted to share that a lot is related with productivity, which is connected with the leadership's thought process and the culture that is driven down, and everything is they're having the right culture of having suitable metrics, and a PDCA cycle is followed. So PDCA cycle has to become plan, do, check and act cycle has to become a part of your in your system for your productivity, and it can drive back into adopting technologies. When you adopt the technology, then you will have problems. You need to be prepared for it and do a PDCA to go on correcting it, so that you are getting the results. So my point very simply is that the team, really think it out. For example, we did not give the right importance for master data, and the SAP became big issue because we didn't give such an importance. Now coming to the other side, these are all the negative stories, but I'll tell you how using technology we were able to have a cutting edge. So one of the things that we did was our delivery process time, that means the order collection to the green signal, pressing the green button for production, the processes that is required for process, was such that it was to add immensely into the lead time of delivery. Actually, production didn't have enough clarity. once we had this system, we were able to bring down a set of products from a 40-day lead time of delivery to 4 days. We brought down the lead time of this delivery. This is an actual story which is also documented.
How do MSMEs innovate? What is the roadmap for effective innovation, considering that you're a small organization?
Mr. Ram Shankar Pandey just said that mindset to become unique. Actually, this is the key for innovation. I mean, if you have the mindset to become unique, innovation will happen. For MSMEs, they are indeed extremely good in Jugaad. Somebody also said it earlier. The thing is, Jugaad is not bad, but it is a lab experiment. If you want to make it sustainable and robust to work in production, that innovation has to be further worked upon. And I believe that is what is lagging in with the Indian system and with the Indian MSMEs. We are extremely happy to do something different, make some jugaad, so that we are good problem solvers. We have so many gods. The heroism is in the blood. Heroism is in the blood of Indians, and problem solving. They feel extremely happy with problem solving, but getting to the root cause analysis, which helps you make your jugaad sustainable and make it work in production one piece after the other. This is something which is missing. And another thing is mindset of the scale. In China, what happened? China already is riding the scale wave. I mean, they have created it. They have created scale for everything and making the world dependent on them. So the scale boat is missed. So now what we can do is we have only the innovation boat to ride on. Because scale is already gone to China, and in fact what we could sell in China mostly, it is on the basis of innovation and being flexible. So India has an advantage of being flexible, being able to customize the technology or the processes to satisfy the customer. So customization and being specialist. Being in the niche fields, there are multiple niches available, and so I believe that Indian MSMEs have them. So catching those niches to become global is the opportunity, and I think that innovation is the key to capture the opportunities which are created by China plus strategies of most of the companies. So we have to catch that China plus wave which will bring the business to India, and Indian MSMEs need to scale up now or never.
How we can correlate to quality, grade, reliability, flow, and profitability?
I think all these things are not inconsistent with each other. You cannot achieve quality without reliability, and you cannot have cash flow and profitability without a consistent quality that meets your customer expectation. So these are all things that tie into one another. Rather, better the quality, better will be your profitability and cash flow, and better will be your reliability, which will in turn help you in advancing your quality further with volume and scale. So these are all consistent. That old adage of there is a cost to quality is thrown out of the window long back. Now there is only either quality or no business. So I don't think there is any inconsistent. All the points he has mentioned, they all go together. They are not inconsistent with each other.
The trend of digitalization is impacting every sector, especially manufacturing sector.
Yeah, basically what I will try to do is what has happened with respect to digitization is computer integrated manufacturing has been transformed into a smart factory, wherein intelligent machines which were built with intelligent program logic have been now transformed to smart machines which are driven by data and with adaptive controls. This is a little difficult to understand, but you can think of, then you can easily understand. Then factory automation, that means automation within the shop floor or within the machine or the plant have been transformed to distributed automation. And human sense, that is individual intelligence driven, has been replaced by system sensors, that is artificial and AI based algorithm driven. This is, whether it is we want it or not, this is going to be the future. So now, naturally, if I look at MSME, because we have a Samarth Udyog Center, this one for smart manufacturing, we talked to many MSMEs. For them, there are many MSMEs even doesn't have computers. Their level, you can call it as industry 2 level or trying the transition of 2 to 3. And second is they won't understand. But according to me, industry 4 is not a technology. It is only the concept. What it emphasizes is you try to understand what you are doing based on the data which is acquired from the real resources, and then you digitize and share to the respective stakeholders. You may be a owner of a company, or is a production manager, or is a marketing guy. Perform the analytics, relevant analytics, because all the analytics have objective functions. Then you find the predictions and bring back to the resources where you generate the data. So now you able to automate, maybe automation at the machine level or the factory level or even at decision making, so that productivity is ensured, rejection is reduced, machine breakdowns, factory breakdowns are reduced. This is actually industry 4. But there are several technology, people call it as a technology pillars, 9 technology pillars of industry 4 and all. But it is very simple. But say, for example, I'm a mechanical engineer, I'm sure many people must be understood. If I ask to make a turning operation, operator can have only flexibility to manage 4 parameters. One is he can increase speed, decrease feed, then maybe to some extent tool height, tool alignments, or intermediately can change the tool. But if any mechanical engineer can list at least 10 to 15 parameters that are attributing to achieving the just surface finish, RA value alone. So now you need to understand the intelligent process, and then you are asking industry 4 or MSME to understand that is not going to happen. So definitely there are many speakers emphasize on the quality. So now, if you are looking for ensuring a quality and reproducing the quality, yes, the digitization will help you, but you need to talk. So in that case, you don't need to change the machine. You try to figure out what it could be done. Say, for example, there is a company placed in PIDA industrial area here in Bangalore. If I go and ask that, okay, there is an industry 4, this is happening, that is happening, but that is for him, it is not required. So do I have any solution that will ensure that milling machine running time is currently, if it is a 35%, can I have any solution that ensures 45%? Then only will talk to me. I think that is the kind of solution is required.